Coca-Cola has risen to become one of the world's most largest and most powerful corporations since its beginning. Even people who don't like soft drinks know what Coca-Cola is. But many people might not know that this popular drink has a dark history. Hello and welcome to The Hidden Agenda. In this video, we will discuss some of the dark facts and history of Coca-Cola. So keep your eyes on the screen and don't forget to like and follow our channel. Before much ado, let's get started. The creation of Coca-Cola. The story starts with an American pharmacist in the Confederate States Army named John Stith Pemberton. During the Battle of Columbus in April 1865, a saber hurt him. He got hooked on morphine when he tried to get rid of his constant pain by taking it. As a chemist, he started trying different drugs and painkillers on his own. In 1885, he registered Pemberton's French wine coca nerve tonic at the store he owned in Columbus, Georgia, called Pemberton's Eagle Drug and Chemical House. His recipe called for the African cola nut, which gives the drink its caffeine. It was a non-alcoholic version of his French wine coca. It was marketed as Coca-Cola, the drink that makes you calm down. It was first sold at Jacob's Pharmacy in Atlanta, Georgia on May 8, 1886. Pemberton marketed and sold his new drink as a patent medicine. He said it was a solution for many diseases, including morphine addiction, indigestion, nerve disorders, and headaches. But once he mixed the base syrup with soda by accident, Pemberton decided to sell this instead as a medicine, but as a drink from a fountain. Frank Mason Robinson came up with the name Coca-Cola because it was common for wine medicines to have names that started with the same letter. In 1887, Atlanta businessman and pharmacist Asa Candler paid Pemberton $2,300 for the recipe for Coca-Cola. Unfortunately, Pemberton died a few years later. By the end of the 1890s, Coca-Cola was one of the most popular fountain drinks in the United States because of how hard Candler marketed it. But things took an interesting turn a few years later when two businessmen from Chattanooga, Tennessee, named Benjamin F. Thomas and Joseph B. Whitehead, came up with the idea of putting the beverages in bottles. They were so convincing that Candler gave them control of the process for just $1 by signing a contract. Candler didn't find out until a long time later that what he did was very wrong. Candler was happy by just selling the syrup his company made. The contract was hard for the Coca-Cola company to understand for many years. When the bottlers decided to work with other companies and become parent bottlers, the legal problems got worse. This contract said that each bottle would be sold for 5 cents, but it didn't say how long they would last. The mind-blowing business in World War II. When the U.S. joined World War II in 1941, American soldiers were involved there. There were a lot more American soldiers serving abroad who desired Coca-Cola. Under Woodruff's leadership, the Coca-Cola Company started building bottling distribution centers overseas to keep up with demand. Between the mid-1940s and 1960, nearly twice as many countries had bottling factories. This allowed Coca-Cola to start doing business in other countries. Along with other countries, Coca-Cola did a lot of business in Germany. They were on both sides of the game. During the war, though, the U.S. stopped doing business with Nazi Germany. This made it hard for Nazi Germany to get Coca-Cola syrup. Max Keith, who ran Coca-Cola Deutschland at the time, wanted to solve this problem. He made the decision to develop a brand new item for the German market using only things that were available in Germany at the time, like sugar beet, whey, and apple pumice. Keith later called these the leftovers of leftovers. A group of people got together and came up with a different name. Keith told his team, "Use your imagination." One of the salespeople, Joe Nip, proposed Fanta, and the rest is history. The dark secrets of Coca-Cola. In the 1990s, people were slowly changing what they ate and drank, but Coca-Cola made sure that kids could only drink its products at school. Coca-Cola would donate to schools, and in return, it would be given permission to sell its products on school grounds. As a result, a school in New York City was able to build a stadium emblazoned with the Coca-Cola logo. This meant that kids were being advertised to even when they were in school. The schools were then told to sell the products to the kids, even though too much of them can be harmful to their health. Schools were even told if they sold drinks like milk and fruit juices, they would make less money. People have always thought that Coca-Cola was a company that made unhealthy drinks with a lot of sugar. Coca-Cola drinks do have a lot of sugar in them, and too much sugar is known to make people fat. Coca-Cola, on the other hand, gave money to scientists who then said that people didn't work out because they didn't want to. And there is another interesting ingredient that will shock you. It is cocaine. Cocaine used to be in small amounts in some Coke drinks. This may sound like a silly urban legend when you heard in school, but it's true. Some people say that Coca-Cola still puts coca leaves in their drinks. People have argued about how much was in the drink, but the fact is, it was there. Coca-Cola also makes a brand of bottled water called Dasani. People often think that this Coca-Cola-owned brand of bottled water is strangely different from other brands. A lot of folks have complained that the water has a metallic flavor and makes them thirsty. In the UK, it was found that Dasani had too much bromate, a chemical that could make people more likely to get cancer. As soon as this was found, all Dasani bottles were pulled from the shelves in the UK and never returned. At the beginning of the 2000s, Coca-Cola was accused of breaking a lot of human rights and illegally polluting the soil and water. The more you learn about their past, the more it breaks down the image of being a good company. The New Coke strategy. People remember the story of New Coke, but they often forget what was happening at the time. The Coca-Cola company has been steadily losing ground to its primary rival in its most significant market. With its most significant product of 15 years, by 1985, the Coca-Cola Company and PepsiCo have been in a long-running competition called the Cola Wars. Both companies have promoted their products, especially their flagship brands, in ways that directly compete with those of the other company. During the Cola Wars, when Coca-Cola's flagship product was losing market share to Pepsi, the company thought about changing the recipe and taste of the drink. In April 1985, Coca-Cola came out with a new formula, which they called New Coke. Around 200,000 taste testers' choices were already reflected in the purported Coca-Cola recipe. Of course, these tests didn't show the emotional connection that customers had with Coca-Cola, a connection that they didn't want anyone to mess with, not even the Coca-Cola Company. But something new happened in 1985. At the 10th anniversary party, Mr. Goizueta said that the decision to make New Coke was a great example of taking a wise risk. Many of the people who were there that day remembered the thousands of calls and customer complaints. People called the 800-GET-COKE number and Coca-Cola offices all over the country. By June 1985, the Coca-Cola Company's consumer hotline was getting 1,500 calls a day. Before the taste changed, only about 400 calls a day were coming in. Mr. Goizueta was given a letter that was written to Chief Dodo, the Coca-Cola Company. A letter asking him to sign said that the signature of one of the dumbest executives in American business history could be worth a lot of money one day. There were protest groups all over the country, such as the Society for the Preservation of the Real Thing and the Old Cola Drinkers of America. The Old Cola Drinkers of America said that 100,000 people had joined their group to bring Old Coke back. There were songs made to honor the old method. In July 1985, Coca-Cola decided to bring back the old Coca-Cola. On that July day, almost every major newspaper and 2 network news shows that the news of the old cola was coming back to stores as a Coca-Cola Classic. The choice was good for the customers. After the Coca-Cola Classic was announced, the company's hotline was called 31,600 times in just 2 days. It was clear that Coca-Cola wasn't just a soft drink. In 1985, things happened that changed the soft drink business and the success of the Coca-Cola Company for good. People kept thinking about how much they loved Coca-Cola as the brand that reached new heights. Was it a well-thought-out plan or just the result of a bad choice? Please tell us what you think in the comments. This concludes today's video, but we have many interesting videos for you.